Another example, the French national anthem, La Marseillaise, okay? Allons enfants de la patrie, le jour de gloire est arrivé. Pum, 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 ba-da-dum. Stirring march song. Excerpts of it were used in Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture. I mean, we recognize that right away, probably, okay? What are the words to that song actually say? You know? Then to arms, countrymen, swell the ranks, together stand, march on, that our foes' foul blood may flow and drench our land. Okay? Now this was written by the Jacobins, okay? I mean, you know, the French Revolution. Like, these were really anti-Christian people. I mean, some of the worst that we've ever, you know, these were bad folks, okay? And who consciously tried to rub out all vestiges of Christianity in France. But you know, they wanted to motivate people, the lay people out there, into thinking that they were doing something noble. And musically, it was very effective. It's a very stirring, forward march kind of a thing, beautiful melody, you know. And the words talk about, you know, killing people until the land is drenched in blood. But in the music like that, it sounds so virtuous, okay? Well, you know, I do want to make an observation here. There isn't much march music that is currently being used or being written or being circulated in evangelical Christendom today. That's a very telling phenomenon. You look at the genres of music and marches are almost nowhere to be seen. And marches have some of the highest amount of motivational impact on a person. Onward Christian Soldiers, as one example. The Assurance March. But you know, people are not writing marches today. There was a reverse example of this. I was fairly recently in a church service that there was a presentation given. It was about America's heritage, Christian heritage, and urging people to, you know, be active and faithful in retaining and standing for the preservation of our nation's Christian heritage. And the message closed. Then what happened musically? Well, up came a group and did a rock and roll version of the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Now, we've done a rock and roll version of Jesus Loves Me, okay? So believe me, it can be done, and it's really not that hard to write a rock and roll version of Battle Hymn of the Republic. The Battle Hymn of the Republic is march music, okay? Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Glory, glory. His truth is marching on, okay? That's a very stirring thing. It had a big effect during the war between the states and so forth. But, you know, they did this rock and roll version. Completely wiped out. At the end of that song, what the audience sentiment was something like this. Yahoo! America! Way to go! Pass me some more of that fried chicken. You know, I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, it was terrible, okay? Now, well, somebody might say, but look, you don't understand. I mean, celebratory. Okay, so maybe there's some music with guts in it, you know, that's been around for a while. But what about celebration music? Celebratory music. Well, that's something where, you know, only stuff in the last 15 years they've only discovered how to write celebratory music in the last 15 or 20 years or so. Did you know that? I wonder where all those other poor people ate. You know, they didn't know how to celebrate the way we do today. Well, I'd like to, you know, I say this is musical myopia. Okay, there's some neat celebratory stuff, a whole continent of stuff, things I used to use at Youth for Christ rallies. That it doesn't even exist anymore. I mean, if you can find it, it's on some dusty old church shelf somewhere, okay, being eaten up by mice or something. I mean, you know, anyway, I'll play a track here of some music that I think is reasonably celebratory, okay. This is played actually on a pipe organ, okay. And anyway, pipe organ is not the most popular instrument now for contemporary music, but I think you'll see that this music does pack a reasonably good punch. Does this make you feel like anything? I've seen kids just literally start dancing around with that piece. I mean, just dancing around, having the most fun. If you'll let that piece, it will make you just feel like, jumping around. It's a great piece. At any rate, maybe we could say that's celebratory. Okay, I'll let you meditate on that. Well, let's see. Somebody at some point in a discussion about music is going to say, though, wait a minute. Isn't music and our response to music and the way music affects us something that is culturally determined? For example, you guys, you old fogies like Ed Myers, okay, it's just an age thing. You learned to associate certain musical styles with certain emotions. I learned to associate different musical styles with my emotions. My emotions, of course, are just as important as your emotions. So that's why Rockin' Eardrum Cleft for me is just as worshipful for me as Amazing Grace is for you. So get off my case. Well, I'm going to suggest a different thought for you to consider. And that is that music is a universal language. And that basically wherever you are in the world, the same basic types of compositional techniques, meter, rhythm, the use of melody, the type of harmony, and so forth, the timbres and the way different instruments sound affect nearly everyone basically the same way. I have here, what we're going to hear next is a track of music from Morocco. This is Christian music from Morocco, contemporary Christian music from Morocco. Morocco, okay? Islamic heritage in the country. I mean, even the Christians, are immersed in an Islamic culture. It's been isolated largely from the West for centuries. A whole different thing. Morocco, okay, distinctly different culture. Now here is Christian music from Morocco, contemporary Christian music. Let's listen to this. Right? Completely different culture, same basic stuff. In other words, it probably affects the audiences in Morocco about the same way it would affect people here in the United States. There's another aspect about this thing of music being a universal language. You see, suppose I wanted to write a song. I was going to write this, for 100 people. But I'm confronted with this problem as a writer, I think, people are just so different in the way they respond to music. To reach 100 people, I'm going to have to write 50 different songs because, maybe about every two people, something, and they respond exactly the same way. So, to cover 100 people, I'm going to have to write 50 different songs to get my point across. to have the desired effect upon this 100 people. If that were really the case in music, I think we can all appreciate music would be dead as a viable art form. Just the labor involved in trying to reach people through music would be prohibitive. But that's not the case. I can write one song and affect maybe 90 out of those 100 people pretty much the same way. Okay? Now, another thing about this thing, many musical styles have been circulated widely around the world. And they do achieve basically the same effects on their audience wherever they're played. Jazz idioms in music affect American audiences about the same way they affect African audiences where they originated, as one example. Now, there are cultural differences in response to musical styles. My viewpoint on that, though, is that some cultures simply don't explore certain elements of their emotional makeup as strongly as other cultures do. For example, we look at that in America. For example, if my dad were still living, and I played some of this music that I played for you this afternoon, I mean, to him it would sound like total chaos, absolute total chaos. He would not, he would not be able to pick up on this beat. Oh yeah, man, I can groove, No. It would just sound like total chaos. Now,